Hi guys, Fog Gaming here and welcome to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. The SLR is a new marksman rifle and today we finally have access to the stats. I will show you everything that you need to know to dominate with this weapon, and I will compare it with all the other DMRs in the game so that you know which one to keep and which one to swap. The SLR uses these 7.62mm cartridges from a 10 round base magazine capacity. It fires semi-automatically. The weapon will spawn on the map like most other weapons. But I have to be honest with you, the SLR seems a little bit harder to find than all of the other DMRs. It fires at a rate of 0.1 seconds per shot, so it will take 1 second to empty your magazine. Afterwards, it will take 3.68 seconds to fully reload your weapon. The SLR will cause 58 damage points and it will deal 580 damage points per second. Both of these ratings are the second highest damage rating for DMRs. If we take into account the reload time, then the SLR will cause 124 sustained damage per second, which is unfortunately the second lowest rating for DMRs. It has a bullet speed rating of 840 meters per second and a spread rating of 0.07. It has a 500 meter effective range, which is on par with the MK14. Controlling this weapon will depend on how well you can handle the updated recoil mechanics, since it was increased in the recent patch. The SLR will cause 60.9 damage points to the torso, 66.9 damage to the upper chest and 57.8 damage points to the belly button area. This means that you will have to shoot your enemy twice in order to make a kill. A level 1 or level 2 vest will need 3 shots, while the best vest in Battlegrounds will need 4 shots. The SLR causes 136.3 damage points for a single headshot or 102.2 damage points for a shot to the neck. I'm sure that you know that a single headshot is lethal. If your enemy is wearing a level 1 or a level 2 helmet, then you will need to shoot him twice in the head or in the neck. The best helmet in Battlegrounds requires 2 shots to the head or 3 shots to the neck. The biceps and thighs take 33 damage per shot, while forearms and shins take 27.5. This means that you will have to shoot your enemy 4 times for a kill. Hands and feet take 16.5 damage points for one single shot, so you will need to shoot your enemy 7 times. Speaking about the updated mechanics, there are a few changes that came with the recent update which also affect the SLR. Aside from an increase in the vertical and horizontal recoil, all of the DMRs in the game now take longer to recover from recoil with each shot. You will be surprised at how hard the SLR kicks back, but just remember that you can expect the recoil from all the other DMRs to be stronger than what you were used to. DMRs can now also equip assault rifle attachments along with sniper rifle attachments, so you will have a wider range of attachments available to use on your SLR. Let's first compare this weapon with the only DMR that is exclusive to the airdrops, the MK14. Just like the SLR, it fires the 7.62mm cartridges from a 10 round base magazine capacity. But the MK14 can fire both in semi and fully automatic modes. The clear difference is that the MK14 can cause 678 damage points per second, which is 98 damage points higher than the rating of the SLR. Other than that, the two weapons have plenty of stats that are nearly equal. They have the same effective range rating with 500 meters, the same spread rating of 0.07 and the same 3.68 second reload speed. The MK14 has a base damage rating of 61 points per second, which is just 3 points higher than the SLR's rating. The rate of fire clocks in at 0.09 seconds per shot, which is just 0.01 second faster than the SLR. It has an 853 meters per second bullet speed rating, which is 13 points higher than the SLR's rating. And finally, the MK14 causes 133 sustained damage per second, which is 9 points higher than the SLR's rating. In short, if you cannot get to an airdrop to find the MK14, then the SLR is the next best thing. You will have to miss out on a few things though, such as the MK14's rate of fire and the bipod, but at least you won't have to risk your life just to get your hands on it. Just like the SLR, the SKS also fires the 7.62mm cartridges from another 10 round base magazine, and it also fires semi-automatically. Both of these weapons have a 0.1 second per shot rate of fire and a 0.7 spread rating. However, the SKS received a damage nerf and now most of its stats are lower than those of the SLR. This weapon now has a reduced base damage rating from 57 to only 53. That's 5 points lower than the SLR. The SKS also has a 400 meter effective range, which is 100 meters shorter than the SLR, and the SKS has a bullet speed rating of 800 meters per second, which is 40 meters per second slower than the SLR. You're probably thinking that the SKS is inferior to the SLR, but that's not completely true. It has a reload speed of 2.9 seconds, which is 0.78 seconds faster, and the SKS might have a lower DPS rating of 530 points, but it does have an SDPS rating of 136, which is 12 points higher than the SLR. The biggest difference is that the SKS can have 5 attachments in total. On the other hand, the SLR cannot accept grips. This means that you will have access to all the available foregrips, including the ones introduced in the 12th update. This will allow you to control the SKS better. This is a huge advantage, since a recent update increased the recoil for DMRs. The SKS will allow you to handle the change a lot better than you would if you had the SLR. Ultimately, the best choice will depend on the situation and on your skill level. The Mini 14 is very different from the SLR. It uses 5.56mm ammo and can store 20 rounds in each magazine, which is twice the number of rounds that the SLR can hold. You can increase this to 30 with an extended mag. The Mini is much weaker than the SLR in terms of base damage. The recent patch increased the Mini's damage to 46, but that is still 12 whole points lower than the SLR's rating. Thanks to the 0.1 second per shot rate of fire, this weapon also has a DPS rating of 460 points, which is 120 points less than the DPS of the SLR. The Mini 14 has a shorter 400 meters effective range and a wider 0.1 spread rating. But it makes up for this for having a bullet speed of 990 meters per second. That's a huge 150 meters per second difference compared to the SLR's bullet speed rating. So it's much easier to lead your targets with the Mini 14. It might reload slightly slower at 3.6 seconds, but keep in mind that it also has the double magazine capacity. This means that you will have to reload a lot less frequently, which means that the Mini 14 can cause a sustained damage per second of 164 points. It is much more convenient to use the Mini 14 than the rest of the DMRs, because it can hit moving targets much easier and it reloads less frequently. Unlike the SKS, which tries to balance out the power and ease of use, the Mini 14 sacrifices power to make sure that the weapon will be easy to handle. The MK14 remains to be the best DMR for beginners, but it's also a very good choice to bring with you if you already have a 7.62mm AR like the AK or the Groza. The SLR is very powerful and reliable, but you will need to control it well so that you can use it effectively. If you already have a 5.56mm assault rifle, then it's handy to have the SLR because you can use a different set of ammo, a different type of ammo. If you already have a 7.62mm AR, then the Mini 14 can help you using the 5.56mm rounds that you find. The Mini 14 is already very different compared to the SLR, but the VSS is even more so. It uses 9mm cartridges with a 10 round base magazine capacity. It enjoyed a small damage buff from 40 points to 41 points, but that is still 17 points less than what the SLR can do per shot. The VSS might have a faster rate of fire with 0.08 seconds per shot, but it still scores a low DPS rating with 479. That is 101 points lower than the SLR. On top of this, the bullet speed of the VSS is only 330 meters per second, and it only has a 250 meter effective range. This means that if your shot travels too far, you would experience a dramatic bullet drop. The 0.07 spread rating of the VSS can't help with this neither. The SLR simply doesn't have this problem. The VSS might have a fast 2.9 second reload, but that doesn't really make up for the power difference. It still has the lowest SDPS rating with 109 points. The SLR is also capable of using a wide variety of attachments, but the VSS can only accept mags and stocks. It has its own suppressor built in, which is very useful, but the 4x scope is a lot harder to use than any of the other scopes available in the game. Now that we've compared the SLR with every other DMR, it's time to see if this weapon will suit your playstyle. The good news is that the SLR performs very well as a DMR, so it's not hard to recommend. If you like weapons that have a high single shot damage output and you don't mind having to deal with some recoil, then this is definitely the weapon for you. It's also a great weapon to have temporarily if you want to get your hands on the MK14 for example, but it's likely that you won't be interested in picking up any other DMR once you get used to the SLR. You will enjoy being able to fire precise and powerful shots without having to rely on a bipod. So you're better off sniping the people that approach airdrops instead of going there first yourself. That being said, if you need a weapon that is easier to control, then the Mini 14 and the SKS will be more suited for you. The Mini 14 is a natural weapon, it's super easy to control, while the SKS can use grips to help you control your shots even better. This video is brought to you by PureVPN, the best solution to keep your devices secure and anonymous without compromising speed. Perfect for a gamer. Click the link below and use the code FOG for a 10% discount to help you get started. Use everything that you've learned in this video so that you can get your hands on your next chicken dinner with the SLR. In the next video, we will take a look at the new attachments. We will compare them with the old ones and I will show you which is the absolute best attachment. Hit the subscribe button so that you will be the first one to get access to that video. This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching, and I will see you in Battlegrounds.